This will be all about teaching today, and then we'll ramp it up tomorrow. So.
We talked to Nick Sirianni today, and he just raved about Phipp and the job that he's done on special teams. And obviously, with what happened last week, you talked about having to take a look at unscouted looks and really having to look at the tape now. Just can you speak to the job Phipp's done, not only last week, but really just all year? You've been really consistent special teams, wide receivers in all phases.
Yeah. Look, Phipp, I think Phipp's a superstar. He was, I've known Phipp for a while. We coached briefly, and actually he was the assistant special teams coach when I was in Miami. He was under Darren Rizzi, who I think is excellent, who's at New Orleans now. But I remember even thinking then, like, man, this guy, just full of energy. He was smart. And so he was always somebody, and then we stayed in touch, but I just remember I was like, this guy's going to be an outstanding coach. He gets his shot in Philly, and I think he's, just from afar, was always one of the best special teams coaches. So to be able to get him, the timing was right, and you see what he does, and I agree with you. I think it's probably been our most consistent unit out of the three phases. We got a pretty good core group of guys, but he's been great, I just think he's an outstanding teacher, and he's high energy, and I think you have to be both to be a good special teams coach.
Tanner Decker talking about his hand real good. Can you give us an update on him as well? Like
I would tell you nothing's changed. We'll just see where it goes. We're treating it just kind of day to day, if you will. And for me, I don't have a feeling really one way or another, to be honest with you. We'll see how it goes.
Obviously, you don't like injured players, but do you like the injured reserve process?
I didn't say I don't like injured players.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You don't like when players are injured, is what I meant to say. But in terms of the process of being able to take a look and then decide, do you like the mechanics of it? Does it make sense to you?
You mean just when you get an injured player and somebody filling in?
Well, I'm talking about you can take a look at Taylor now. You can when you put a guy in IR, he's not out for the whole year. You're going to take another look at him. That's.
Well, the advantage you gain is that you get to take a look at a guy before you can start their clock sometimes, so you actually gain a body and you get to see those guys. But, the good thing right now is that we're not crunched against the roster. We're not pressed right now to have to make some move. Now it's coming. We got some guys that are going to begin to start coming back between Hand and Decker and Boyle, and there's going to be some decisions that Brad and I have to make that aren't going to be easy as this goes, down the road. But there again, we're taking it day to day.
Yeah, you guys have done so many things well over the course of the season. It hasn't paid off in a win. What would a win mean to you and to the team?
Yeah, well, it would mean everything. We're that's why we're all doing this. Ultimately, why you love it, because it's the same thing that makes this this game so tough and hard is the same thing that just makes it unbelievably exciting and blissful, if you will, to get a win, because they're so hard to come by, and you got to earn them. You really do. So it would mean everything, and look, particularly going into a bye too. Anytime it would be good, but I think just to, you end on a right note. We get these guys get their body back a little bit, and then you come back. You almost feel like you're starting over somewhat. You're continuing the progress you had, but now I'd say we've turned the corner here, and now we're ready to go. Got our first win under our belt.
The mechanics of the West Coast trip, right? So you decided to go through the walkthrough today, go back to the Cincinnati game. You talked about how you felt like that missed padded practice on Wednesday was detrimental to the performance. So how are you balancing that, weighing that? How are you going to make up that, physicality through this week of practice?
Yeah, we really harped on the mental side of what we're going to get today. Let's make sure that we're on, and I think we've got a plan that these guys can digest, and they'll be able to play fast. But man, it's all about teaching and learning today. And tomorrow we will go full speed, but we'll probably go pads early in practice. I don't know if we'll go the full time, but I think that was the other thing was, Cincinnati, we didn't do pads at all, and so I think at least we get a period of it. Just sets the tone for practice and knowing what we're getting ready to face.
So you've got a few different guys on the roster we haven't seen yet in game action. One of them I was interested in is Gilbert.
Yeah.
You plucked him off Pittsburgh's practice squad. You clearly saw something. The depth at cornerback's a little thin right now. I'm just curious what you've seen from him in the practice field. Little thin.
Yeah, listen, Gilbert. We like Gilbert, man. That was a good pickup. Brad and those guys finding him, and we do like him. We think he's an outside guy, and it's really been more him just getting acclimated with our terminology and watching his movement skills, what we think he does well. But look, there's a chance he could be up this week. Now, I don't know how much he would play if he is, but there is a chance. I mean, we're going through everything. A lot of it will depend on A.J. Parker, which we don't know yet. That's day to day. So, but I would say A.J.'s better than we thought he was when I talked to you guys last.
If AJ can't go, who are sort of the options inside there?
Yeah, I think Jerry can do some of that.
You were around
You're always, you guys are always trying to get the volts of the game plan a little bit, or who's going where.
Trade deadline 6 days away. I don't know, how involved yet you would be in discussions about guys you have or guys you might get, but just sort of in general, like, what would it take for you to be a buyer? Like, what sort of players are you looking for? And, same thing selling. What do you?
I'll be, as of right now, if I'm being honest, I'm not even thinking about that. Brad's always he's always thinking and looking and what can we do? How can we upgrade? Is this a smart move? Is it not? And if it's something he feels like is valid, he'll bring it to me and we talk about it. But right now, that's not on my mind. I'm about what we have on this roster right now and how we get the most out of them.
One of the guys that you have on the roster who's been pretty good is DeAndre Swift. He leads the league in catches and receiving yards from the running back position. You were around Alvin Kamara when he was kind of a young player emerging. Obviously, he's done it consistently for a long time, but do you see something similar there just with his ability to make plays in the passing game and be just so dynamic to have to cover from a defensive standpoint?
I do. He's a dynamic player. I mean, I think he's one of those. I think he's got game-changing ability, and I do see similarities. They're similar in that regard that they can both, I think, somewhat take a game over. I think they have that ability, but they're different just athletically, if you will. AK's just his balance. He's got this strength and balance about him. He doesn't have blazing speed, but he's certainly fast enough, and he's highly intelligent. I mean, really smart. And Swift is a smart player as well. Swift is super explosive. He's got some speed. There's these things about him that are very similar, but they're different in the way that they do their job, and they're both very dangerous, I believe.
Yeah, obviously the trade plays last week, I think got a lot of notice around the league of what you guys are doing, how far you're willing to go to get a win, to make anything happen. That kind of, I don't know, the idea that Dan Campbell may be crazy, that you're dangerous out there, you're willing to do anything. Do you like that? Are you leaning into that I'm going to do anything, fight dirty, bite some kneecaps, whatever you need to do?
Well, I think that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get a win within reason, Like we really felt good about those plays. Like those were calculated. We had a real good idea the look would be there, and on really all three of them. Now there's still a risk to it, and but I just bring this up again. It really, offense, defense, and special teams in particular, when you practice those things against the looks, you feel really good about getting. And those guys do it all week. And some of those we've been doing for weeks. When is the right time? And so when those guys do it and they execute in practice, like, it gives me all the faith in the world. Like, oh, it's going to work. And, it's like, I don't care what they put in there. This thing's going to work. Just because those guys, man, they start to feel it. They understand the looks. They know how to, they know how to make it work, Mike Sherman used to say, sometimes when you rep something enough over and over and over, the players they know how to make it work no matter what the defense gives you. They figure it out because they've done it enough. But I would credit, there again, Phil, but I credit our players, man. They bought into it and they executed all week, which gave me faith, and then they went out and did it in the game.
give you an advantage at all, or do other teams, are they more on high alert for those kind of anything, offense, defense, whatever?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I think it could be. I think it could give you an advantage a little bit. You know, you don't know what's coming next. You know, I think there's something to that. You don't know what we're going to do, so we'll do whatever we have to do to try to win a game. I know that. So as long as if it makes sense, if it's calculated risk, if you will.
Can I ask you one more? Just the Swift Kamara comparisons. I know you made them in training camp. Swift averages 17 touches a game. Kamara's in that 21, 22 range. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like a 25% increase of workload. So you said you want to get Swift as much touches as possible. What is the limit there, if there is one, especially with the growing thing he's been nursing kind of all year?
Well, that's the balance, isn't it? I mean, we used to have these conversations getting ready for games. It's, you start tagging plays, and it's like, all right, the whole time we say, hey, listen, we got to be smart. We got to use AK because he's a difference maker. But man, you give too much, and you won't have him at the end of the year, or you. But then when you start tagging openers, it's like, who you want here? AK. Who you want here? AK. Right, let's go AK. Okay, AK. And before you know it, it's like, well, wait a minute. I thought and Swift's a little that way now. AK's been a very durable player. For the most part, he really has, and which is a credit to just the way he, takes care of his body and all that. And Swift, he's in his second year, coming back. We didn't have him all in training camp. Kind of had the groin coming back, and so he's really just every week gotten a little bit better. And he still gets a little irritated by these things coming after a game. And so we're trying to be smart and maximize his abilities and his time and be smart with it. But I do feel like he's starting to turn that corner to where, all right, man, he's got some games, some reps under his belt. He's able to handle it. He's recovering. And so, I mean, if we think he can handle it, we're going to start giving it to him a little bit more.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.